The hills of Los Angeles have always been susceptible to wildfires. Hot, dry summers and strong Santa Ana winds create a tinderbox-like environment. But in recent years, the fires have grown larger, more frequent, and increasingly destructive. Homes are lost, lives are disrupted, and the fear of the next inferno hangs heavy in the air. Climate change is often cited as a contributing factor, with rising temperatures and prolonged droughts exacerbating the problem. The 2023 fire season was particularly brutal. Over 10,000 acres burned within city limits, fueled by record-breaking heat and dry brush. The iconic Hollywood sign was threatened, and neighborhoods from Bel Air to Pacific Palisades were evacuated. Firefighters worked tirelessly to contain the blazes, but resources were stretched thin. The debate over wildfire prevention is complex and emotionally charged. The future of Los Angeles may very well depend on finding a balanced approach that addresses both the environmental and human costs of wildfires. Check one, check. In an effort to address budget shortfalls, Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass proposed cuts to the city's fire department budget. These cuts, amounting to millions of dollars, were met with immediate criticism from firefighters and residents alike. The proposed reductions included staffing cuts, delayed equipment upgrades, and a reduction in fire prevention programs.
These cuts are irresponsible and short-sighted. They're putting our lives at risk and jeopardizing the safety of the entire city.
The debate over the fire department budget cuts reflects a broader national conversation about the role of government and the allocation of resources. California has long been at the forefront of environmental policy in the United States. Under Governor Gavin Newsom, the state has enacted some of the most ambitious climate change legislation in the country. While these policies are laudable in their intent, some critics argue that they have had unintended consequences, particularly when it comes to wildfire risk. One of the most controversial policies is the state's strict regulation of forest management practices.
Our forests are being mismanaged. The environmental regulations are well-intentioned, but they've gone too far. We need to be doing more controlled burns and thinning out the underbrush to reduce the fuel load.
The debate over environmental policies and their impact on wildfires is likely to continue, as California grapples with the challenges of protecting both its environment and its citizens. The human cost of wildfires is immeasurable. Homes are lost, lives are disrupted, and the emotional toll can be devastating. For residents living in fire-prone areas, the fear is constant.
"We've lost everything," said Sarah Chen, a single mother whose home in Topanga Canyon was destroyed in the Woolsey fire. "We had no warning, no time to grab anything. It's heartbreaking."
Chen's story is not unique. Thousands of Californians have lost their homes and livelihoods to wildfires in recent years.
"It's not just about the physical loss," said Mark Williams, a retired firefighter who lost his home in the Creek Fire. "It's the emotional toll, the sense of security that's been ripped away."
The stories of residents like Chen and Williams highlight the human cost of wildfires and the urgent need for effective prevention and mitigation measures. The debate over wildfires in Los Angeles is not simply about environmental policy or budget cuts. It's about finding the right balance between competing priorities, between protecting the environment and protecting people.
Critics of the progressive agenda argue that it often prioritizes ideology over pragmatism, leading to policies that sound good in theory but have unintended consequences in practice.
However, supporters of these policies argue that they are necessary to address long-term challenges such as climate change and social inequity.
The challenge for policymakers is to find a way to balance these competing priorities, to protect both the environment and the people who live in it. Finding the balance will require open and honest dialogue, a willingness to compromise, and a recognition that there are no easy answers. It will require listening to the concerns of all stakeholders, from environmentalists to firefighters to residents living on the front lines of the wildfire crisis.
The future of Los Angeles, and indeed the entire state of California, may depend on our ability to find that balance.